First and foremost, thank you everyone in the Infocareer team for making this journey of success. I'm Pavan. I've started my career for about 8.5 years into e-learning, e-publishing, and IT domains. So right now, I wanted to transition my role from an operations into a project perspective. So that was my aim to do an internationally certified program to ensure that we have the required credentials to start as a project manager. So while checking, this was the PMI, the issued the PMP certification was the most accredited one. So I decided to complete this certification. So while checking for other test centers, I have one of my former colleagues and friends who told me that who was passed out from Infocareer in 2020. His name is Bharat Srinivasan. So he was the one who told me to enroll for Infocareer so that the journey will be smooth and successful. And after joining here for about September to October was the time that I joined. So I was enrolled for the offline classes, which I believe was great for me because online is the thing you may not be able to have much focus or interaction. So I thought of enrolling for the offline classes, and the offline classes consist of 5 days, 5 days of the 8 hours classes that we used to have from morning 9 to evening 6. So in between we used to have those tea breaks and lunch breaks, and I must say the snacks and lunch, everything provided was top class from Infocareer. That was too good. And of course, this journey, I think we had some many professors like you, GLS, along with Natarajan and Karthik, who was recently passed out some 2 or 3 years back. He was also very informative in confirming us how we need to prepare, like what is the questions that we can anticipate, everything. So, and combined inputs of all the mentors and experts, so we were able to know what we need, what is needed from our end, so that we can proceed accordingly. Just by listening to some YouTube videos or going for random mocks, we won't be able to gather the grist content of the project management. So we need to invest in the needed time. We need that coordination with experts so that we have the enhanced understanding. From then on, we have to practice the questions like every that might be analytical thinking, like different types like agile, hybrid, waterfall. So every sort of questions. From then on, we have to work on those sample questions, and then we can we can crack this PMP exam. And the Infocareer does provide the two options. Like even for if we have been enrolled for this offline courses, we do have that two credentials. One is for Road to Project Success, which will have the recorded video session. So in case if for if we want to recap for some of the videos that we have lost, that we have forgot the explanation part, we can go and rewind back to those explanation part, like what is the exact explanation part here. From then on, we can grasp our understanding and then make note of it. Then we can try out. And the IC career, we do have that Infocareer leaf, IC leaf. Okay, that IC leaf will have all those questions from beginner, intermediate, advanced. So once we have those completed, we used to have the tracker being sent by Infocareer. Once we update that tracker and give you the progress, you can go through it and you will confirm us that we are ready to go with the mock test. So the mock test was also great because it tests us exactly like how we would be in a PMP exam. Like 60 minutes, we can pause, we can bookmark the question, pause and exit, then take a 10-minute break and then switch back again. So the mock exam was also too good. And I must say, particularly the mock test 4 was so tough. And that was the exact one that I felt in PMP. So from Mark 4, I should say that 20 to 30% of the difficulty level was exactly there in the PMP. So even to my batch colleagues, I told take before exam, take Mark 4. Once if you have cleared that Mark 4, you can easily clear PMP exam. That's the difficulty level that I don't. When I first was into that mock 4, it was completely into I think most of 90% of the questions were only scenario based questions in mock 4. So while handling that, it was like I had to consider all those 4 hours time. Similarly in exam also, I was able to complete just 5 minutes back. So it was like full of scenario questions. But once we go through it, like the techniques that you told during the classes, that we need to follow the elimination technique, so that we once we read through a question, we may know that this will not definitely be an answer. So we used to eliminate those 1 or 2 options. From then on, if we have those 2 options, from the 2 options, to select will be the most trickiest part for anything, because one will be a good choice and the other will be a best choice. So we have to, as a PMP, we have to select the best choice out of it. So from that too, we have to again read the last part of the question or the thing what is being tested from that. From then on, we have to choose what's the best part of it. Then we have to choose. And in my exam, I have to say the first 60 questions, I had those many from 40 to 50 questions were from agile parts. So the first 60 questions itself, it took me more than 1.5 hours. So then I thought, at once I had a thought that will I be able to complete my exam in time or not. Then the second 60 questions was some intermediate level that again took approximately just 1 to 1.5 15 minutes. The last 60 I had only approximately 70 minutes. For last 60 questions I had only 70 minutes, but I was able to complete it in 65 minutes itself. So the last 60 was comparatively easy to the compared to first two. So my tip for the what I told to my peers yesterday, I spoke to my teammates who are joined in my batch. I told them the first 60 was too tough. I think they were PMI was trying to test our patience. Then in the second it was intermediate. Then the last 60 I told, particularly the 180th question I was receiving what a stakeholder register, like this is the 1 mark question sort of thing that we would expect as a first question, but this is the question I got in 180th question, the last question. So I told my friends that be confident whatever difficulty questions you have. If you have the first 60, if you have some 40 questions difficult, take your time, even if it's about 1.5 hours or 1 hour 45 minutes or even 2 hours. Ensure that the next B and C, the next two sections will have some intermediate and easy as well as some sort of easy questions that you can have, so that you can easily clear the exam. So from my end, I did not have any thing to review back. So I just, as and when a question comes, I used to spend that 1 minute or 1.5 minutes. So I used to spend that time. So from then on, I did not have any questions to mark. So I had spent all the time initially, so that I don't need to go back to again come again. So that was the thing that I followed. So this was a good success for me. I've learned everything about like how we handle risk, how more than the project management and the management thing is like how do we handle risk, because risk is something that no one we won't have a knowledge about this thing. So handling risk and how to mitigate. There are certain situations where we have to accept risk. There are certain situations that we might try to avoid. So I think these are the practices that we've been doing in life, but we have to ensure that we have to use the appropriate knowledge in the examination part as well. So this was very good for me. The risk management part was something very good for me. Okay, the advanced level questions were so good. The like PMP the PMI is not asking that straightforward questions. Like maybe in the beginner part you might have those questions only for us to acclimatize to what is being done. So for us to recall. So the beginner test I think was good for us to recall what we have studied. So I think that was good. But the preparation from the preparation aspect, everyone should focus more on the intermediate and advanced part. They should not skip. If for example, if you have all those every topics you have 3 or 4 beginner tests, then we'll have 2 intermediate and then we have 3 advanced course. So once we have if you have some out of 4, if you clear 3 beginner tests, you can then move on to intermediate and advanced. But make sure that we try out every intermediate and advanced questions, and especially the advanced level questions are so good. So that's exactly how PMI is testing. And also in the recent times, what I felt was in this year as well, so to some of those who have cleared recently, I don't think we are getting those analytical sort of questions. I didn't receive, I got the rough sheets, but I didn't even use for any one thing, one question. None of the questions were even for any calculation or even this normal formula checking part for earned value, planned value, nothing. So nothing the sort of analytic. Maybe I think the PMI must have thought that we have some additional softwares to calculate everything. So I think they are trying to know only about how we are understanding various situations. So I think the exam was more, they said 50, but it was 60 to 70% agile and 30% it was normal. So like every concept that we have, from risk to stakeholder, everything, they are interconnecting that with an agile concept. I'd say more than anything, I say your preparation should be good. So it's not like you have to be focused. If you are focused, you can only use some 2 or 3 hours per day. I did this. My preparation was only for 2 or 3 hours per day, like for about 1 month and 1.5 months. I took the time to preparation, and this was only morning. I used to spend for 1 to 1.5 hours, and evening I used to spend for 1 hour, and night I used to spend for about half an hour or 1 hour. So the preparation would be like, if I watch the Infocareer videos or any sort of reference materials from YouTube in the first half, in the afternoon and evening I might go with the questions to check how well I am understanding the concepts. So it will be good if we are going through the video explanations, and then immediately after 2 or 3 hours, if you go back to test those sort of questions, it will be helpful for us. Yes, this definitely worked for me. I did not read the PMI book. The PMP book was around 800 pages book. As a part of that membership, I was able to download both 6th and 7th edition PDFs. And the contents were so large. So if we start reading, it will take us more than 1 year to read all the concepts. So instead of that, we are enrolling here, and the mentors input, everything was so perfect. So we might know, because if you take a book, you might have to test only one concept or one key point, but you might have to end up studying 2 or 3 pages. So that may not be so helpful. That will be time consuming and may not be very apt for those who are working or in any sort of jobs. Thank you, sir. Even I want to credit the entire Infocareer team for the seamless coordination. Thank you.